I'm going to be reading an article today on the Amanita Muscaria mushroom, also called the fly agaric mushroom, and it's that iconic red mushroom with white spots on it. And I dressed for the occasion. So I wanted to talk about this article's on my website if you want to read it also. But I want to talk about how fairy is really like a heart opening and heart centered practice, and how the Amanita muscaria mushroom is very similar, and how the two, how they're intertwined, and how they open the way for heart healing and heart magic. So I'm going to read the article. And I just want to say, take a moment to say something on safety, which is that although I mentioned ingesting Amanita muscaria, I'm not suggesting that you do that. I'm not giving any kind of medical advice, and I want to encourage you to always do your research if you are ever planning on ingesting any plants, and make sure that it is the right plant for you and that you've built a relationship with that plant before taking it or sitting with that medicine. So let's get started. Let's explore the magic, medicine, and mystery of the Fae, mushrooms, and the heart. Running fairy magic and ingesting Amanita muscaria can take us to similar places of enchantment and call us into the heart-centered work of healing relationships with the forces of nature. Let's start with the heart-centered plants of Faerie. I deeply respect our beloved plant medicines and their connection to the ancient healing powers of the fairies. These beings offer their elixirs of healing to us, one method being through the Amanita muscaria or fly agaric mushroom, which can help us rewire the emotional wounds that are entangled within us. This poisonous plant and other entheogens provide a pathway for weaving us into healthier relationships with the powers of the earth, the unseen, and each other. I feel that some of the magic of Faerie is connected to the Amanita muscaria mushroom and other mushrooms, and other heart-centered plants such as foxglove, hawthorn, and rose. Not all plants will resonate with Fae currents of power, but some of us might be more drawn to certain plants because of the fairy element that's swirling within them. So much of engaging with plant medicine is about the loving relationship built over time with that plant's magic, which happens through our hearts. We can have flowing and mutual relationships between us and the plant medicines, which can filter into our relationships, both seen and unseen. A bite of fairy. Folklore tells us that if you eat anything in the fairy realm, a part of you will stay there forever. Fairy stories often detail partaking in forbidden fruit of the other world, which poetically reveals how taking entheogenic plants can be a part of this work. Fairy is a place with no time. Therefore, if we eat something that puts us in touch with the eternal, we might have a chance to experience these timeless states in our here and now. When everyone engages with fairy states of enchantment, warnings are given, as ultimately shifting into and out of altered states can be disorienting, ungrounding, and potentially, I can't say that word, potentially vulnerable. For those called to this work, though, these initiatory, spirit-altering experiences can be a vital step on a very magical path. To be made over for this work, we are being guided by these teachers as we are called into service with them. For me, Amanita and other plants have been essential gateways, coaxing me deeper into the realms of fairy in my work as a witch. The human heart as a bridge to deepening a fairy witchcraft practice. As a practitioner who allies with fairy entities, I have found an open heart is essential for engaging with the Fae. We need to access our dynamic array of emotions, which are generated through our strong magnetic field of our hearts. Without this, the way to some fairy magic is blocked, if not impossible to traverse. However, the more intimate we get with our emotions, the more we risk exposure to our vulnerabilities, fears, and our wounds. We should prepare ourselves for confronting, processing, and dealing with what has been in the shadows when we engage with these powers. We might have to prioritize tending our hearts, our emotional needs, as we move deeper into the magic. Doing this, which is sometimes called shadow work, can be unsettling, uncomfortable, and even painful, but can also awaken our joy, pleasure, and fulfillment. The result of diving into the wellspring of our emotions can unlock the ecstatic states our bodies are capable of, which in turn can draw us closer to the fairy mysteries. This is where Amanita muscaria or other Fae touch plants come in. Working with Amanita muscaria. Ingesting Amanita muscaria can be an unpredictable experience. There is a thread of chaos woven in the sometimes trickster guidance of this mushroom, which in my opinion mirrors what it feels like to encounter the Fae. An Amanita Muscaria trip is a unique experience, spiraling us downward into the ancestral realms below, while creating an expansive celestial spaciousness in our awareness. The psychoactive properties of this mushroom create distortions in our sense of time, space, size, order of events, actions, and thoughts in the now. It can activate our desire to socialize, party, and be with others, or make us extremely tired and sleepy, calling us into our dreams. It opens our awareness of the circular nature of time in our immediate environment. Working with this mushroom can sometimes support mental health issues, working through suicidal ideation, blocks around self-love, and help us digest deep-seated wounds, repeating thought loops of fear, shame, guilt, etc. Amanita can guide the work of the emotional body and the heart, bringing awareness to patterns of self-loathing or low self-esteem to support the rewiring of those beliefs. I personally have found ongoing relief from my depression symptoms by working with this mushroom over the past 3 years. I guess even 4 years now. I first met the mushroom in 2020, so it's 2025. This mushroom spirit brings us face to face with who we are and supports us in healing the blocks that prevent us from experiencing a more fully enchanted, magical, pleasure-filled, and sensuous life with nature. Amanita similarities with fairy magic. In my experiences ingesting Amanita Muscaria and channeling fairy currents of power, I feel some uncanny overlap in their impact on my magic. As these forces seem to echo each other, there might be a lot of potential for some fairy witchcraft practitioners to partner with this mushroom in their work. Here are some practices where working with the fairy and Amanita awakens similar powers. 1. The removal or rewiring of spiritual alignments, also known as healing. Ailments, not alignments. Let me reread that. The removal or rewiring of spiritual ailments, also known as healing. 2, below realms or underworld medicine. 3, ancestral healing and mediumship work or necromancy. 4, opening of psychic abilities, visionary states, the sight, and clairsentience, which is psychic feeling or clear feeling. 1, 2, 5, dream work and healing during sleep. Amanita is really good with helping you get to bed and have really intense dreams and working just like in the night realms. We have chanting, singing, and movement for ecstatic states. Amanita gives you energy and makes you want to dance and move, and working with fairy does a very similar thing, I think. Expansive relationships with the cycles of time, space, and soul. You can opening to the sensuous and magic in the body through the sensations of interconnection, aka enchantment, wonderment, and awe with the world and the universe. And finally, the overlap comes through awareness and our ability to participate in spinning the fate webs of creation, also known as magic. Building relationships with spirits. I get the sense that there is a deep need for nourishing and healing the heart space, especially around our relationships with the spirits of creation and the forces of nature. Approaching plant medicine through the heart gives us a solid starting point from which to meet a particular spirit or medicine. So, if you're interested in working with this mushroom, this is where I recommend you begin. When we anchor into a giving and receiving heart space with a plant spirit, a deep and trusting love can be shared and fostered. This lays the tracks for healing magic to flow through our bodies and keep us safer in the process of mediating these forces. When we commit to meeting our relationships from this place of compassion, openness, proper boundary setting, kindness, and receptivity, beautiful healing gifts can emerge. As practitioners, these interconnected heart-centered relationships can be intentionally cultivated with trees, plants, mushrooms, spirits, ancestors, stones, and so on. The potential impact on interpersonal relationships. While accessing the heart space can enhance our ability to be in right relationship with spirits, it can also positively support forging healthy connections with our human kindred. When we learn to show up to our relationships from a place of integrity, ready to be honest, clear, and authentic, this not only empowers us, but also ensures that we don't undermine the power of others. We should be mindful not to attempt to control the narrative of how others will perceive or respond to us by concealing our true feelings and desires, given that it's safe to express ourselves with the right people. Hiding in this way creates an energetic discord, often felt whether verbalized or not. Revealing the emotional aspects of our experiences within relationships can help us to be freer from the shadows of shame, fear, and anxiety that get in the way of building true intimacy. Within this space of honesty for what is, this grants us a greater opportunity to experience nourishing interconnection, understanding, empathy, and belonging. Heart healing fairy magic is a living landscape, so we should keep in mind the work is never finished, but always evolving. So I'm curious, what are your experiences with the heart healing magic of the fairy? And do you work with Amanita and fairy? And if so, I really want to connect with you because that's like anchor and core to my magic and my practice. Yeah, so read the safety notes, which will be in the video below, or in the description box below. And yeah, I'm interested to hear from you and your fairy experiences.